He watched silently as I sat there, embarrassed, humiliated, clutching the only $7 I had for that date. I didn't know then that the stranger across the room, the man who saw everything, was about to turn my world upside down forever. My name is Mary. I work as a maid in a huge mansion owned by a man I've barely spoken to. My days are filled with cleaning floors, washing dishes, and dreaming of a better life. I don't have fancy clothes or rich friends, just a tired smile and quiet hopes for tomorrow. Every morning, I wake up before sunrise, tie my hair neatly, and start cleaning the mansion. The marble floors shine so bright they almost blind me, but they're not mine to walk freely on. I dust chandeliers, polish silverware, and make sure every corner smells of lavender. The mansion feels grand but cold, like beauty without warmth. Mr. Ethan, the owner, is polite but distant. He always greets me with a gentle nod, never unkind, yet never close enough to really know. I've seen him give large donations and host business meetings, yet I doubt he even knows how I take my tea. Still, I respect him. He's the kind of man who seems to carry the whole world on his shoulders. The other maids often gossip about the rich guests or complain about long hours. Clara, my co-worker, teases me for being quiet and calls me the invisible one. She's louder, confident, always with stories about love and dates. One afternoon, while we were folding linens, she said, "Mary, you need to live a little. Go on a date." "Find someone," I laughed softly, not realizing that simple suggestion would soon lead to the most unforgettable night of my life. Clara never let things go easily. The next few days, she wouldn't stop teasing me about signing up for one of those dating apps. "Come on, Mary," she'd say, waving her phone. "It's harmless fun. Who knows, maybe you'll meet someone nice, someone who doesn't care that you scrub floors for a living." I tried to laugh it off, but deep down, a tiny part of me wished it could happen. I'd never been on a proper date in my life. My world was small: work, groceries, and phone calls to my sick mother every weekend. Still, one evening, after finishing my chores, Clara cornered me in the staff room. She helped me make an account, choosing the simplest photo I had, one where I was smiling shyly in my plain white blouse. Within hours, a message appeared. His name was Liam. His words were polite, confident, and charming in a rehearsed kind of way. "You seem sweet," he wrote. "Let's meet for coffee this Friday." My treat. My heart fluttered. I told Clara, and she squealed like I had just won a lottery. "You're going to look adorable. Don't you dare cancel." The whole week I saved every penny I could, skipping lunches, walking instead of taking the bus, until I had exactly $7 in my purse. I wasn't expecting a fancy meal. I just wanted to contribute something, to not look like I was there for a free coffee. On Friday morning, I stared at my reflection in the mirror of my small rented room. My face looked tired, but there was a quiet excitement in my eyes. I borrowed a soft white dress from my neighbor, who told me I looked sweet and pure, like hope itself. I tied my hair loosely and applied a touch of lip color. For once, I wanted to feel like I belonged in the world outside the mansion. Clara helped me choose a cozy little cafe she'd seen online, not knowing it was far fancier than I could afford. When I arrived, the restaurant glowed with warm golden lights, every table dressed in fine linen. I hesitated at the door, clutching my small purse. The waiter smiled politely but looked me up and down with curiosity. I knew I didn't look like the usual kind of guest. I sat near the window, heart racing as I waited. Minutes later, a tall man in a crisp beige suit walked in, holding his phone. It was Liam. He scanned the room, his eyes landing on me. His smile faded slightly as he approached. "You're Mary?" he asked, voice full of surprise. I nodded nervously, trying to smile. He sat down, glancing at my simple dress, then at the menu. That was the moment I realized. This date wasn't going to go the way I had imagined. The restaurant smelled of roasted coffee and warm pastries, but to me, it felt like walking into another world, one built for people who never had to count coins before ordering. I sat there with my hands folded in my lap, praying I wouldn't say or do anything wrong. Liam looked at me with polite confusion, like he was still trying to understand how someone like me ended up across his table. He leaned back, checking his phone again, and sighed. "So, you work as a maid?" His tone wasn't curious. It was cautious, almost as if my answer might embarrass him. I nodded. "Yes, I help clean and take care of a mansion nearby." He gave a short laugh that didn't sound kind. "That's interesting," he said, his eyes scanning the restaurant. "I just didn't expect that." The waiter approached and handed us menus. Liam immediately ordered a cappuccino and a slice of cake. When it was my turn, I hesitated. The cheapest thing I saw was a cup of plain coffee. $7. Exactly all I had. I smiled weakly and said, "Just coffee, please." As the waiter walked away, Liam looked at me again. "You're only getting coffee?" "I'm not very hungry," I said softly, embarrassed to admit the truth. He shrugged. "Suit yourself." Then, out of nowhere, he added, "You know, most girls I meet order something more exciting." I tried to laugh, but it came out nervous and shaky. The minutes dragged on painfully. He talked about his job, his car, his gym routine, things that sounded impressive but cold. Every word made the gap between our worlds feel wider. When my coffee arrived, I wrapped my hands around the cup just to have something to hold on to. Then came the worst moment. The waiter returned, holding the bill. Liam glanced at it, then looked at me. "Oh, they don't take split payments here. You can handle your part, right?" My stomach dropped. I fumbled for my small purse, counting out the crumpled bills and coins I'd brought. It was exactly $7, not a cent more. I laid the money on the table quietly, trying not to look up. Liam smirked. "Wow, you really did only bring $7? His voice was loud enough for nearby tables to hear. A few people glanced our way, whispering. My cheeks burned. I wanted to disappear. I mumbled, "I'm sorry, I didn't mean—" He cut me off. "Forget it. I should have known better than to trust online dates." He stood up, leaving me alone at the table, humiliated. As I gathered my things, trying not to cry, I didn't notice that someone across the room, Ethan, my employer, had been watching everything. His eyes followed me as I walked out, holding back tears, completely unaware that this night would change both our lives forever. The moment I stepped out of that restaurant, the cold night air hit my face like a slap. My heart pounded in my chest, my palms trembling as I clutched my small purse. I kept my head down, pretending not to hear the faint laughter echoing behind me. Every step felt heavier than the last. I had walked in hoping for kindness and walked out feeling smaller than ever before. Inside, Ethan sat silently at his table, watching the door I had just exited. He hadn't meant to overhear anything, but once he saw the way Liam sneered and the way I shrank in my chair, he couldn't look away. His business associates joked about the scene, one of them chuckling, "That's what happens when people step above their class." Ethan didn't laugh. His jaw tightened, his eyes fixed on the empty chair I had left behind. Meanwhile, I walked aimlessly through the streets, my borrowed white dress brushing against the wet pavement. I didn't care about the rain starting to fall. Maybe it was better that way. It hid my tears. I stopped near a bus stop, sat on the cold metal bench, and whispered to myself, why did I think I deserved more? At that moment, I realized how fragile dignity can feel when it's crushed by someone else's pride. I had done nothing wrong. I just wanted to be seen as a woman, not a servant. But somehow, even that felt like too much to ask. Back at the mansion, Ethan couldn't shake the image of me counting coins with shaking hands. He dismissed his guests early, ignoring their puzzled looks. On the drive home, his driver asked if everything was all right. Ethan simply replied, "No, not really." When I returned to my small rented room that night, my neighbor asked if the date went well. I smiled faintly and said, "It was fine." I didn't have the strength to explain. After she left, I sat on the edge of my bed, untying my shoes slowly. The sound of the rain outside matched the rhythm of my thoughts. In another part of town, Ethan sat alone in his office, replaying what he had witnessed. He thought about how easily people dismiss those who serve them, how blind the world can be to quiet strength. He remembered the mornings he'd seen me cleaning the marble floors without complaint, humming softly to myself. For the first time, he realized that humility isn't weakness, it's grace under pressure. That night, 2 people couldn't sleep, one from pain, the other from guilt. Neither of us knew that by sunrise, our paths would cross again, not by fate's cruelty this time, but by its redemption. Ethan had made a silent promise to himself. The woman who walked out humiliated would never feel invisible again. The next morning, I arrived at the mansion as usual, though every step felt heavier than the last. My eyes were swollen from crying, but I tried to hide them behind a tired smile. Work was my shield. If I kept moving, maybe no one would notice the ache inside me. As I polished the large dining table, I heard Ethan's voice from the hallway. My heart skipped. He never called for me directly, but that morning he did. "Mary," he said softly, standing by his study door, "could you come in for a moment?" My stomach tightened. Had I done something wrong? I wiped my hands on my apron and stepped inside. The study smelled of old books and cedarwood. Ethan sat behind his desk, his expression calm yet unusually gentle. "Please have a seat," he said. I hesitated but obeyed. For a moment, neither of us spoke. Then he asked quietly, "Were you at the Riverside Cafe last night?" My breath caught. "Yes, sir," I whispered. He nodded slowly. "I was there too." My face flushed with embarrassment. "I'm sorry if I caused any scene." "It won't happen again." He shook his head. "You have nothing to apologize for." His voice softened. "I saw what happened, Mary. And I want you to know, no one deserves to be treated that way." For the first time, I saw something in his eyes I hadn't before. Genuine kindness. My tears welled up, and I tried to hold them back. He didn't look at me with pity, but with respect. That simple conversation, those few words, began to mend something inside me. For the first time in years, I felt seen. Ethan leaned back in his chair, his tone thoughtful. "Mary," he began, "you've worked here for a long time. You're loyal, kind, and hard-working, qualities that money can't buy." I looked down, unsure how to respond. He continued, "I'm starting a new foundation to help women who've been overlooked or mistreated, giving them skills and opportunities to rebuild their lives. I'd like you to join me for a moment." I thought I had misheard him. "Me? But I'm just a maid," I said softly. He smiled faintly. "You're not just anything. You're the reason I believe this project can truly make a difference." Tears filled my eyes before I could stop them. I had spent years cleaning other people's messes, never imagining someone would trust me with something meaningful. Ethan handed me a folder, an application, training details, everything I would need. "Take your time," he said kindly, "but I hope you'll say yes." That day, I left the study trembling, not with fear, but with hope. For the first time in my life, someone had looked past my uniform and seen potential. That offer didn't just change my job, it changed my entire world. The weeks that followed felt like stepping into a new chapter of my life. I joined Ethan's foundation, nervous but determined. The first days were overwhelming. Meetings, training sessions, and workshops filled with confident women who spoke with purpose. I felt out of place at first, but Ethan always reminded me, "You belong here, Mary." Slowly, I began to believe him. I learned how to organize community drives, manage budgets, and speak in front of groups. My voice, once quiet and hesitant, grew stronger with every passing day. The same hands that once scrubbed floors now helped build programs for women who needed second chances. Women like me. Ethan often stopped by during events, standing quietly in the back, smiling proudly. He never treated me like an employee again, but as a partner in something meaningful. People started to respect me, not because of what I wore, but because of what I stood for. Months later, when I looked in the mirror, I barely recognized the woman staring back. The tired maid was gone, replaced by someone confident, brave, and full of purpose. Ethan's faith had done more than change my life. It had awakened my strength. Months later, the foundation hosted a grand charity dinner at a beautiful hotel, the same one where I once felt humiliated. This time, I wasn't a guest hiding in the corner. I was standing on stage, sharing my story with confidence and pride. The audience applauded warmly, their eyes filled with admiration, not pity. As I stepped down, I noticed someone near the back of the room, Liam. He looked almost the same, except this time, the arrogance in his eyes was gone, replaced by quiet disbelief. He approached me slowly and said, "Mary? You look incredible." I didn't realize. I smiled politely, my voice calm. "You didn't need to realize anything." That night taught me more than you ever could. He stood there speechless as Ethan joined me, offering a supportive nod. Together, we walked past Liam, leaving the past where it belonged. That evening, as I looked around the crowded ballroom, I realized how far I had come, from a maid cleaning floors to a woman inspiring others. The humiliation that once broke me had turned into my greatest strength, and the man who once watched silently had become the reason I could finally shine. That night changed everything. I learned that dignity doesn't come from money or status. It comes from how you rise after being broken. If you've ever been judged or humiliated, remember, your worth isn't defined by others' opinions. Like, share, and subscribe for more stories reminding us that kindness and self-respect always win. If you believe kindness still exists in this world, hit that like button. Subscribe for more real stories that remind us, no matter where you start, dignity can take you anywhere.